Hi, fifth graders. This is Mrs. Crosland down in the Blue Pod. Welcome to Unit 1, Lesson 10. I'm on page 27 in my textbook, and I hope that you'll join me. So our goal for this lesson is just to give you a little bit more practice with adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators. And I'm hoping that after today, it'll be a little bit easier for you to find the common denominator. So take a look at this first page, 27. The first thing they want us to do is to find the answer to all of these questions. And I think we can accomplish what we need to do without actually solving the problems. We're going to focus on the common denominator. So what I'd like to do is take a look at question 4, which says, what do the problems in group 1 have in common, focusing on the common denominators? So let's just figure out what the common denominators are here. So letter A, we've got 10 and 3. And the first thing I always look at is 3 going to go into 10? No, rats. So my tip to you is this. I like to look at the bigger denominator, which would be the 10, right? And go through my multiples of 10 to see till I find one that will work. Let me show you what I mean. So 10 times 1 is 10. 3 won't go into 10. 10 times 2 is 20. Does 3 go into 20? No. 10 times 3? 30. Does 3 go into 30? Yes. 30 is my common denominator. Let's look at B. We've got 5 and 4. 4 doesn't go into 5. So 5 is our bigger number. Let's go through the multiples of 5. You know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You can do that. Does 5 work? No. 10? Does 4 go into 10? No. 15? No. 20? Yes. 20 is our common denominator. Now, 9 and 7. 9 is the bigger number, and if you don't know your nines, for heaven's sake, take out your planner and use your multiplication chart in that. Use the multiplication table on the wall of your classroom, or use your calculator. So I'm going to go through my nines, and I'm going to stop when I see one that 7 goes into. Maybe even say your nines and look at the 7s. 9 won't work. 9 times 2, 18. Nope. 9 times 3, 27. Nope, 7 won't go into 27. 9 times 4 is 36. 7 won't go into 36. 9 times 5, 45. Nope. 9 times 6, 54. 9 times 7, 63. Yes, 7 will go into 63. It took a little bit of work, but 63 is our common denominator. So they want us to see the pattern. Do you see a pattern there? What did we do to find those common denominators? Take a look at that for a second. 10, 3, 30. 5, 4, 20. 9, 7, 63. I'm hoping you saw that you multiply them together. And that is a strategy that you can use always to find the common denominator. So the strategy in part B is multiply the denominators. And I know some of you love, love, love this way of doing it. And I hate, hate, hate this way of doing it, because sometimes when you multiply the denominators together, you get big, huge numbers, and then at the end, you have to simplify them. Simplifying to me means you have to divide, and I hate dividing. So I don't really like that strategy. You're welcome to try it if you want to, but I'm going to show you some other ones. Okay, take a look at group 2. What would be the common denominator for 7 and 14? Well, first we're going to see, does 7 go into 14? Yes, that's our common denominator. How about 4 and 28? Ugh, I don't like those numbers. But 4 goes into 28 7 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 28 is my common denominator. 3 and 18? I really don't want to multiply those together, but look, 3 goes into 18. So 18 is our common denominator. So in group 2, what you want to see is, can one denominator be divided into the other denominator? Okay? Can one go into the other? Can one be divided by the other? So kind of ask yourself that question. All right. This last one, you sure could multiply 8 times 12 together and get 96. That's kind of a big number to work with, and most of us can't do 8 times 12 in our head. However, does 8 go into 12? No, it doesn't. Okay, so choose the bigger number, choose the 12, count by 12s. 12 times 1 is 12, 12 times 2 is 24. Does 8 go into 24? It does. That's a way smaller number than 96. Okay, take a look at B. You've got 4 and 6. 6 doesn't go into 4, or 4 doesn't go into 6, I should say. 4 times 6 is 24. That would work. But let's see if there's a different one. 6 is our bigger number. Go through your 6s. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2, 12. That will work better. Look at 30 and 45. Do you really want to multiply 30 and 45 together? I most certainly don't. Okay, and I don't know my 45s or my 30s, but 45 is bigger, and I know 30 is not going to go exactly into 45. But what if you multiply 45 times 2, or just add 45 and 45? You get 90. Okay, does 30 go into 90? Easy. 30 times 3 is 90. 90 is your common denominator. So in this group 3, you can take a look at the bigger number and find the multiples to find the common denominator. A lot easier than multiplying them together. All right, I've moved on to the next page, and we're not going to do all these problems together. Maybe your teacher will want to do some of these with you, but I just want to go through one adding and subtracting problem on the top and then talk about the problems on the bottom. So I would like to go through number 9 together. I would like for you to write it vertically up and down. So pause the video and copy your problem down like this and see if you can find the common denominator. Okay, first thing we're going to do, does 4 go into 10? Nope. So 10's the bigger number. Go through your multiples of 10. 10? Nope. 20. Yes, 4 goes into 20. So 20 is our common denominator. Now we're going to make our equivalent fractions. 10 times what is 20? 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Whatever you multiply the denominator by, you multiply the numerator by. Okay, I like to write those little numbers there. You might think that's a little weird, but whenever I don't write those numbers down and I keep it in my head, I tend to make mistakes on that top number. So for me, writing those numbers down really helps me get it right. Down in the bottom fraction, 4 times 5 is 20. 3 times 5 is 15. Okay, notice how we multiplied the bottom fraction by a different number than we multiplied the top fraction by. Okay, so now we got to subtract 6 minus 15. That's 9, right? Wrong. Okay, you can't do 6 minus 15. So you know what that means. We're either going to borrow, ungroup, regroup, whatever word you like to choose. Change the 1 whole, take a 1 whole from here, change the 3 to 2, and then I'm going to rewrite that 1 whole over here. Now what do I want to use for the denominator? I'm going to choose 20 since I'm dealing with 20s. And I've got to think, how many 20s in 1 whole? Well, if I have a pan of brownies and I cut it into 20 brownies and I eat the whole thing, how many of those 20 brownies have I eaten? 20. Same numerator and denominator, 1 whole. 26 20ths, subtract. Now I can do it. I get 1 and 11 20ths. All right, now I want to do another problem, an adding one, and I'm going to pick the big old nasty number 14 because look at those huge denominators. Kind of intimidating, but really we can do it. We're strong math students. So 10 and 100, well, first of all, does 10 go into 100? Yeah. How many times? 10 times. So choose 100 as your common denominator, and look what happens on the top. This number just slides right over. Didn't even have to do any math there. Down here, 10 times 10 we said is 100. 7 times 10, 70. It's an addition problem. So you get 130 100ths, and over here you get 99. How about that? I'm hoping something in your head's going, Ding, 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 ding. Because 130 100ths is not okay. It's an improper fraction. Whenever the numerator is bigger than the denominator, it's improper. And we don't want to be improper in math class. So what do? Well, we're going to think about this. 100 100ths is one whole. We can take one whole or 100 hundredths out of there and put it over here and make this into 100 and 3 100ths left. Okay, your teacher might have shown you a way to divide it like this. And that's another way of doing that too. Okay, the remainder becomes your numerator and the denominator stays the same. Okay, a couple ways you could do that. All right, down below we have a picture of a line plot, kind of graph, and it is showing Mr. Park's purchase of potato salad. Every week he goes and gets 1 pound of potato salad, and it's not exactly 1 pound every week. So this shows what he got. So 1 week it turned out to be 3/4 of a pound, 2 weeks, 2 dots, 7/8. 4 weeks it was exactly 1 pound, and so on. Let's just talk about how we would set up these two questions. What's the difference between the greatest and least weights shown on this graph? Okay, I'd like for you to set up the equation down below there. Don't solve it, just find the equation. Well, the biggest number would be 1 1/2 at that end of the number line on the line plot, and the smallest one is 3/4. So there you go. And I know you know how to do that. Your common denominator would be 4. Okay, and if you did it correctly, you would get 3/4. All right, down below, this one is a little confusing. For 3 of the weeks, Mr. Park received less than a pound. What's the combined weight of the salad for these 3 weeks? Okay, pause for a minute and see if you can write the equation on this line here. Okay, I'm hoping that you put down 3/4 plus 7/8 plus 7/8 because everything on this side over here is less than 1 whole. Okay, now I'd like you to pause and solve it. I'm hoping that you chose 8 as your common denominator because who would want to do 8 times 8 times 4? That would be a huge number to work with. If you did this, you would end up with 28ths. Which is, again, an improper fraction. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to simplify that. So you're going to go 8 into 20. It's going to go 2 times. Subtract. So your remainder becomes your numerator, and the denominator stays the same. It doesn't change. So you've got 2 4/8. And again, even though we use the simplest fraction, we still have to simplify. 4/8 is the same as 1/2. All right, I hope that you got some good tips for finding the common denominator. Good luck.